Information, please. Rest of the great American public that is doing its best to upset our mental giants. Here's how to get into this question and answer game. Send us questions and the correct answers, if acceptable time, during each broadcast. Any question accepted will win $2 for the person who submits it. Any question the experts cannot answer will win an extra $5. The contest will be refereed by our Master of Ceremonies, Mr. Clifton Fadiman, literary critic of the New Yorker magazine. Clifton Fadiman.
Thank you. Good evening, everybody. Our quartet is here, bright and early. Well, early anyway. And now I'll call the roll. Mr. Franklin P. Adams, columnist of the New York Post, do you swear to tell us all you know and nothing that you don't know?
I sure do.
John Kieran, sports writer of the New York Times, do you guarantee not to tell us all you know?
If possible.
Marcus Duffield, day news editor of the New York Herald Tribune, do you promise to be our court of first and last resort on all questions and current events, foreign affairs, etc.?
I hope.
Well, folks, that's 3 experts in the bag. And the 4th, our guest of honor this evening, is Oscar Levant, well-known composer, creator of the score of many successful motion pictures, including The Awful Truth and Nothing Sacred, and finally, holder of a subterranean reputation as a Broadway and Hollywood wit. Just relax, Mr. Levant. There. Feeling all right now?
Apoplectic.
Thank you. Now, folks, remember that this quartet has not seen these questions in advance. This is an informal, spontaneous, unrehearsed program. Questions will be addressed to the entire board. Any member who wishes to may raise his hand and take a whack at the question. It must be answered by one member, except where it's composed of more than 2 parts, in which case the board may cooperate. But if any part is answered incorrectly, $5 is forfeited. When you hear that cash register sound, that means $5 is actually being paid out to the lucky question. Now, in just another moment, that's just Mr. Adams filing a wisecrack for future use. All set, Brain Trust? Very well. Let's go. The first question is a musical one. It comes from Mrs. F.C. Walsh, 31096 38th Street, Long Island City. What performers helped to make the following songs famous? I have 6 of them, and you have to list 4 out of 5. I'm going to read the title of the song, and we'll have a few bars played from it. The first is, I Don't Care. Mr. Levant, who made it famous?
Eva Tango.
That's quite correct. Number 2, Shine On, Harvest Moon. That's very pretty, too. Mr. Levant.
Nora Bayes and Jack Norwood.
Good. Very good. You're doing very well, Mr. Levant. 3, Silent Night. Mr. Duffield.
Schumann Heights.
That's correct. How did you get in on this musical stuff?
Amazing. Surprises me as much as it does you.
Day news. 4, Roll Them Roly-Boly Eyes. Mr. Levant.
Eddie Leonard.
Pretty good. 5, But Definitely. I think we've got them there.
Shirley Temple.
Good, Mr. Levant. That's correct. And one more. When My Baby Smiles at Me.
Ted Lewis.
Ted Lewis for Mr. Levant. That's quite correct. Sure brings us back to the old days, doesn't it, Mr. Levant?
Not very old.
You don't think so? You don't feel yourself getting sentimental?
Shirley Temple.
Shirley Temple. We have no time for sentiment this evening. Let's rush on to question number 2, which comes from Mr. Harold Lampell, 315 East Susquehanna Street, Allentown, PA. Question. Explain the following slang terms used generally by baseball players. There are 4 of them. One is dunker, strawberry, jockey, rock. I have the unenviable distinction of not knowing the meaning of a single one of them. Mr. Kieran, I knew you'd be right there on the dot. Dunker.
Dunker, I have to use gestures. A dunker is a top ball hit by a batter that goes over the infield and suddenly dunks itself into the grass in the outfield. It's another name for a Texas leaguer.
Ladies and gentlemen of the radio audience, he's been using gestures all along. I'm sorry that I can't transcribe them over the radio for you. The next is strawberry.
Why, strawberry is a nice red mark gained by a player in hurling himself along the ground to reach a base.
Bruise from sliding, it says on mine. That's correct. Jockey.
A jockey is a wisecracker in a baseball uniform, speaking from the bench.
That's correct. And finally, rock.
A rock is another name for a serious error, such as I have often made here.
Yes, you remember you did make a serious error last week. We have 724 letters coming to us from all parts of the known and habitable globe, Mr. Kieran, about the error you made in connection with Johnny Allen.
That was a rock of the purest granite.
Serene.
You remember that the game in which Johnny Allen played was played in what town and not what other town? It was played in
Boston.
And you said?
I was exhibited naked to the blushes of eternity.
Highly fallible, folks. Highly fallible is Mr. Kieran. Now, Mr. Kieran, all I want to know from you is the Latin name of a Nicaraguan screech owl with a yellow tail feather. He doesn't know, folks. He doesn't know. We'll go on to the next question from Harold B. Dent, 319 Hamilton Avenue, Paterson, New Jersey. Name 3 sets of fathers and sons who have held high positions in the United States government. 3 sets of fathers and sons who have held high positions in the United States government. Volunteers on that. Mr. Duffield?
Let's start with John Quincy Adams and then think a while.
Yes?
His father was Samuel Adams.
No, that I'm afraid is wrong.
Huh?
The father of John Quincy Adams was John Adams.
So he was.
So he was. Hold that register for a while. How about another set? That's wrong so far. Mr. Garrett.
Well, could you count the 2 Roosevelts, 2 Teddy Roosevelts in it? One was President of the United States, the other was Governor General of Puerto Rico and the Philippine Islands.
That's correct. And one more.
How about the Clark boys?
The Clark boys, very good. Can you name them, Mr. Levant?
They were both champs, weren't they? I don't...
One was champ and one is Bennett champ. Well, we got 2 out of 3, but I'm afraid that little error is going to cost us $5, Mr. Duffield. Now, there are a couple of others you might have mentioned. The La Follettes, of course, the Morgenthau's, the Wallaces, and there are a whole crowd of Harrisons scattered through our history.
How about the Bagbies?
Who, Mr. Levant?
The Bagbies.
The Bagbies? Who are the Bagbies? I think you made it up.
No.
Baseball pitchers.
That's right. Oh, they occupy our position in the United States government.
Certainly.
We'll put that in the next question. For Mr. John C. Kingston, 3809 Hamilton Street, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, comes this very simple question. According to Omar Khayyam, what 4 things would be sufficient to transform the wilderness into a paradise? Now, you have to get all 4 of them. Mr. Adams. Can't think of 4. Mr. Curran.
Book of verses,
That's 1.
jug of wine, a
That's
loaf
2,
of bread,
3.
and, not you, thou.
Retrieved your reputation, Mr. Curran, very nicely indeed. Here's another one on a musical subject from Mr. Harold S. Oikel, 39 Goldthwaite Street, Lynn, Massachusetts. Name a famous piece of symphonic music that was written on 5 of the following 6 subjects. Now, we have to get 5 out of the following 6. First subject, a graveyard frolic. Can you think of a famous piece of symphonic music written about a graveyard frolic? We'll get on to a jollier subject later on. Mr. Levant, any ideas on that? That is a tough one.
I'm dead.
Mr. Levant can't see through that one. I can hardly pronounce the name of the man who wrote this thing called Danse Macabre.
Oh.
Saint-Saëns? Saint-Saëns? Something like Saint-Saëns. 2. No, we got one wrong. Who wrote a famous piece of symphonic music on Napoleon?
Beethoven.
Beethoven. What was the name of the piece?
The Eroica Symphony.
That's correct, Mr. Levant. A Day in the Country, Mr. Levant. Got any ideas on that one?
Beethoven.
What's the name of the...
Pastoral Symphony.
That's correct. For a Picture Gallery.
This is
Still Mr. Levant, doing very nicely.
I was wrong twice in my mind. Wait a minute.
Doesn't count if you're wrong in your mind, as long as you don't say it.
What's that, a day in the picture gallery?
Just a picture gallery. It doesn't say how long.
A day in the country. I like that. Picture gallery.
Want to come back to that?
Yeah, I have it someplace.
All right, he's got it someplace. A railroad train, Mr. Levant.
Honegger, Pacific, some number. I forgot the number.
Well, you don't have to give us a number. 231.
Thank you.
Adds up to 6. Very easy to remember. A great lover.
Don Juan.
By Richard Strauss, that's correct. And now how about that picture gallery? Come on, let's have that picture gallery, Mr. Levant. Anybody else? Mr. Adams? Mr. Carey, you say you don't know who wrote...
Mussorgsky.
That's correct.
Pictures in an exhibition.
That's correct. Completely unrehearsed, folks. Completely unrehearsed. You just got by on the skin of your teeth, Mr. Levant. Pretty good, though. The next one is from Louis Martin, 1731 California Street, San Francisco, California. Explain 4 of the following political phrases. There are 5 altogether. First, dark horse. Mr. Duffield, let's have that.
Dark Horse is a candidate that nobody thinks will win, and suddenly he turns out to win.
That's correct. Kitchen cabinet.
Kitchen cabinet are the confidential advisors of the president.
Correct. Log rolling.
Log rolling, you vote for my bill, and I'll vote for your bill.
More or less that, yes. Pork barrel.
That's getting post offices for the hometown.
Well, that's it in a most very specific way, yeah. Would you say legislative appropriation of money for projects of questionable value, which is the definition I just made up? And 5, fat cat.
Fat cat?
Yeah, that's a tough one. Fat
cat. Sounds like baseball. Go ahead, Mr. Kieran.
Mr. Kieran, don't you know fat cat? Well, you know about natural history. It's not your deal.
See, I think a fat cat is probably an angel.
Yes, it is an angel.
Politician.
Well, what does he do? What does this angel do?
A heavy contributor to the campaign.
That's correct. Got 5 out of 5, Mr. Duffy. Boys are coming through very well tonight. I'm very proud of them. Next one from Mr. W.K. Payne, Meadowbridge, Washington, Connecticut. According to Shakespeare, identified as Mr. Adams' favorite author, according to Shakespeare, men were deceivers ever. Recollect that, Mr. Adams? Men were deceivers ever. From other sources, quote, 2 more literary selections, uncomplimentary to man. 2 more literary selections or quotations uncomplimentary to man.
Man the unknown?
Man the lifeboat.
Trouble is, folks, that I'm about 18 feet away from Mr. Adams, and I can exercise nothing but moral suasion.
Man was made to mourn.
Yes, but do you think that's uncomplimentary?
Very.
You think that's very uncomplimentary?
Yes.
What's the source of it?
Robert Burns.
I don't know. It may be correct. I don't know. I'll accept that unless I get something better. Let's have another one. Another literary selection. Uncomplimentary to man. Do you mean to say none of you know about poetry that's uncomplimentary to man?
We wouldn't.
How would we know that?
We got women last week, didn't we?
Yes, and you can't have the same sex every week.
How about man is the dog's best friend?
Mr. Levant. Mr. Levant, I'm sorry, can't accept that. It's going to make you stick to music. One more. If not, I'll have to supply...
Just one more...
Yes, sure, Mr. Kieran. Just one more. Mr. Adams.
A man was the cause of it all.
Now, folks, what would you do if you were in my place?
That's right. That's the end of a song.
By whom?
Begins, she was more to be pitied than censured.
That's correct. I suppose it is uncomplimentary. Well, we just about...
For 40 cents, I'd sing it.
40 cents? Anybody here got 40 cents? No, nobody has 40 cents. Well, I have some very good quotations, which I'm now going to read. How about rats and snails and puppy dogs' tails? That's what little boys are made of. Isn't that a good one? Mr. Adams doesn't like that. The more I see of men, the better I like dogs. That's what you were thinking of, Mr. Levant.
I like mine better.
You like this? Man's inhumanity to man makes countless millions or thousands or 10,000 more. And that's from whom, Mrs. Stewart?
Burns.
Yes. Well, now remember...
From man was made to mourn.
He sticks to man was made. Folks, Adam knows one quotation and he sticks to it. The next question from Mr. Harry Snyderman, 7254 Summers Road, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Very heavy mail from Pennsylvania this week. Question. Can you explain what 5 of the following are? Now, I think there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 words. Here are the words. I'll read them very rapidly. Piffle, whiffle, sniffle, yaffle, snaffle, ripple.
Tiger.
What's your name, Mr. Adams?
And a tiger.
Yes, and a tiger. Now, we'll start from the beginning. We'll go very slowly. Piffle. What's piffle? Miss Kieran.
Persiflage. Kidding around with words.
What was that first word?
Persiflage.
Persiflage. How much did you pay for that one, Miss Kieran? That's correct for piffle. Whiffle. W-H-I-Iffle.
Whiffle is the front part of a whiffle tree.
Oh, no, well, Mr. Kieran, I'm instructed by the boss.
Whiffle's what you have with maple syrup.
That was Mr. Adams. I'm sorry.
Now, what's the next one? How about skipping that?
No, we have to get whiffle.
Whiffle. Whiffle while you work or something?
It's getting worse and worse. I think I will go on to the next one. A whiffle, as a matter of fact, is a small flute or fife, or it is a puff of breath, or it means to vacillate. And, of course, it is the first part of the word whiffle tree, but it is not a complete word in itself. Not from that point of view. The next one is sniffle. What's the sniffle? That was a sound effect, ladies and gentlemen, by Mr. Kieran. Yes, Mr. Kieran.
Well, it's a sharp intaking of the breath through the nasal passages.
Yes, that's right. None of this question stuff, though. And a yaffle. Mr. Kieran?
A yaffle?
Yeah, a yaffle. You know what a yaffle is.
Yaffle says there's an English bird that has a name like a yaffle, but...
Well, don't be so aggressive about it. That's perfectly correct. Perfectly correct. Snaffle.
Oh, a snaffle?
Mr. Kieran again.
Snaffle is part of the head harness of a noble animal called the horse.
Good. And finally, riffle.
Riffle. Well, there are several definitions for that word. You can riffle a deck of cards, or there are riffles on small streams, brooks, and
that's ripple.
Well, there are also riffles. And
don't you like that, Mr. Adams?
No.
Mr. Adams doesn't like it. Mr. Adams is in a very bad mood this evening. Any one of those definitions for riffle is correct, and that gives us 5 out of the 6. So that's correct. Now the total penalties are only $5. Not getting the boys down this evening at all. They're too bright. Far, far too bright. Let's go. This one comes from Mr. William Reynolds of Chicago, Illinois. Who are the girls and boys referred to in the following songs? There are 5 songs altogether. 1. If she walks like a sly little rogue, if she talks with a cute little brogue, sweet personality, full of rascality, who is it? Who is it, boys? Who is it?
Hot stuff. I don't know.
Mr. Levant, but you like the poetry, don't you, Mr. Levant?
No, that's...
Doesn't even like the poetry.
That's corn.
Don't like it. It's corny.
Yeah.
See if we can get the right answer all the same. Corny. Remember, it's musical criticism. You're not here to give us musical criticism, Mr. Levant. Mr. Kieran, who is this person who walks like a sly little rogue, talks with a cute little brogue?
Never met the lady.
Don't know. Mr. Adams.
My mother.
I admire your mother, Mr. Adams, but I will not accept that answer. Why, gentlemen, that's Peggy O'Neill. 1 wrong. 2. She's my sweetheart, I'm her beau. Miss Kieran.
Annie.
Annie Rooney, and who's the beau?
Joe, whatever his name is.
Yes, sure, not
That's
you,
the fellow
Joe.
named Joe.
That's correct. 3. I don't mind telling you, I took my girl to Q, and... I'll repeat that. I don't mind telling you, I took my girl to Q. How does it go on? It's a tough one. Well, even Mr. Duffield doesn't know that. It's practically a current event. And Emma was the darling creature's name. Oh, Emma. Any of you remember that now?
Whoa.
Yeah, whoa. All right, whoa. Too wrong. 4. She's the only girl that I adore. Miss Kieran.
Katie.
Yes, say it right.
Katie.
That's very good. They swore to be true to each other, true as the stars above. Mr. Duffy.
First one I've known, Frankie and Johnny.
That's right. But unfortunately, that's going to cost us $5 going to Mr. Reynolds in Chicago, Illinois. Next, from Anna Paul of Miami, Florida. The following are famous remarks by famous men. Now, I think you ought to get all of these, boys. These are very well-known remarks by very well-known men. All I want you to do is name the man. 1. Let's look at the record. Volunteers. Mr. Levant.
Al Smith.
Correct. All I know is what I see in the papers. Mr. Duffield.
Will Rogers.
I'll be back in a flash with a flash. Mr. Levant.
Winchell.
Very good. I do not choose to run. Miss Kieran.
Mr. Coolidge.
There's a sucker born every minute. Mr. Kieran.
Mr. Phineas T. Barnum.
Correct. Walk softly and carry a big stick. Mr. Duffield.
Theodore Roosevelt.
That's correct. Let us return to normalcy. Mr. Adams.
W.G. Harding.
Very good. I am going through on this line if it takes all summer.
You.
The next. This is a funny question from Mr. M.M. Weed, 1180 West 28th Street, Los Angeles, California. What imaginary characters, or folklore characters, used the following means of locomotion? Now, we figure you ought to get all of these. 1, a pea-green boat. Mr. Kieran.
The Owl and the Pussycat.
Yes, that's old natural history Kieran again. 2, a raft. What imaginary characters in fiction, used a raft. Mr. Duffield.
Sharon crossing the River Styx.
Yes, I think he did. Huckleberry Finn, I think might be a better answer. Brill.
Revolution.
Yes, French Revolution is correct, Mr. Levant. Just keep going. Make those associations. What book?
Tale of Two Cities.
Tale of Two Cities, correct. Sidney Carton. 5, a flying carpet.
Oh, Arabian Night.
Yes, what character?
Douglas Fairbanks.
Douglas Fairbanks. That's correct, Mr. Levant. I guess you'd call him a folklore character. 6, a chariot.
Ben-Hur.
Ben-Hur, Mr. Levant, coming to the fore again. And 7, a canoe.
Hiawatha.
They both knew that. Mr. Kieran, Mr. Levant are shaking each other's hands. It's the first expression of friendliness I've seen this evening. The next is from Mrs. Mary Stern of Denver, Colorado. Oh, I think this is up your alley, Mr. Adams. Sorry. Complete the following famous limerick. At beauty, Mr. Adams, I just put in the Mr. Adams. At beauty, I am not a star. There are people more handsome by far. My face, I don't mind it. You see, I'm behind it. It's the people in front
that I jar.
That's correct.
Incidentally, that was supposed to be Wilson's favorite limerick.
Yes, and was it?
It was, and it's no good.
Put that down, folks. Mr. Adams says it's no good. Next question is from Brenda Noble, 586 Delaware, Buffalo, New York. Name a famous character in fiction who has become identified with each of the following traits. There are 5 traits altogether. 1, a canting hypocrite. Who is a canting hypocrite, famous character in fiction?
Uriah Heep.
Mr. Kieran and Mr. Adams helping each other out. That would be correct. Pecksniff or Tartuffe would also be acceptable, would they not, Mr. Kieran?
Yes, sir.
All right. Thank you very much. 2, a miser.
Uriah Heep.
Stick to Heep. No, I don't think Uriah Heep would get by as a miser.
Silas Marner.
Silas Marner is correct, yes. Or the miser in Moliere's famous play of that name. 3, the ever-hopeful down and outer. Now, don't answer all at once. The ever-hopeful down and outer. Mr. Kieran.
Mr. Micawber.
Mr. Micawber is correct. 4, the charlatan. A charlatan.
Scott Penn.
Who?
Well, Scott Penn, one of the characters in Moliere's Les Fourberies, Mr. Scott Penn.
That's pretty good. You're only using 2 languages this evening. Yes, I think that would be very good. Very good answer. Another one would be Get Rich Quick Wallingford, perhaps. Or O. Henry's a Gentle Grafter. Mr. Adams, you knew that one, didn't you?
Nope.
O. Henry's a Gentle Grafter. And the last...
All my time.
Last, the Scheming Woman. Or a Scheming Woman. Mr. Adams.
Becky Sharp.
Becky Sharp is correct.
One of many.
That was pretty bitter, Mr. Adams. I hope nobody heard you. The next is from Miss Molly Weiner, 200 East 79th Street, New York City. Name the composers of 3 of the following hot numbers. And there are 4 altogether. Firebird.
Stravinsky.
That was Mr. Levant. We'll stick to you, Mr. Levant, for a while. Firefly.
Kreml. Rudolph Kreml.
Correct. Fire Music.
Wagner.
Correct. And Fire Dance.
Fire Dance.
You're all right. 3 out of 4. You've got
Wait a minute.
you're okay.
Velvet.
Defier.
Defier is correct. Just off the record, Mr. Levant, did Debussy write something called Fireworks Feu d'Artifice?
For the piano.
For the piano.
Yes.
I knew that. That's the only one I knew. Penalties so far, only $10. They're doing too well this evening. $10. $10 lost. The next one is from Miss Maria Russo, St. Paul, Minnesota. Which does not belong with the others of this group? Silver Fin, Silver King, Silver Sprig, Silver Sides, Silver Gar. I'm awfully tired of saying silver. Now, which of the following, which doesn't belong in that group?
Say it over again.
All right. Which does not belong with the others of this group? Silver Fin, Silver King, Silver Sprig, Silver Sides, Silver Gar. Gar is G-A-R. Mr. Adams.
Silver King.
What is the Silver King?
It's a golf ball.
Goodness gracious me. I've never been up anything like that before. No, won't accept it. Won't accept it.
It is a golf ball, though.
Now, don't you stick with him, Mr. Duffield, if you boys are going to play together. Mr. Kieran, don't you know that? Well, the correct answer...
One of them ain't a fish.
I beg pardon?
One of them is not a fish.
Well, that is correct. One of them is not a fish, Mr. Adams. I'm going to give you a special entree now. Which of them is not a fish?
Silver King.
Well, that is absolutely wrong. The answer is Silver Sprig. Now, Silver Sprig is a common rabbit with a silver-colored pelt, and all the rest are kinds of fish. In fact, Mr. Adams, it may be said that you missed that one by a hair. They didn't like that, folks. Now, the total penalties, and I'm afraid that's all we'll have time for this evening, run to $15. Thank you all members of the board and all the folks that have submitted questions. And now Mr. Cross has a word for you about next week's contest. Good night, everybody, and come again.
Thank you, Mr. Fadiman. We meet again next week at 8:30 for another quiz contest between the public and the experts. The board of experts for next week will include Franklin P. Adams, John Kieran, Bernard Jaffe,